Start with the goal. Revenue growth. Now work backwards. Customers are at the heart of business growth. They return to brands they trust that consistently deliver on their expectations. Every engagement is an opportunity to raise the bar, to grow more, faster. But you need agility, flexibility, integration. The best not only welcome change, they lead it. They live for what customers want next. Transform to be everywhere your customers are. Engage to understand their needs. Grow by giving them the experiences they love. Transform, engage, grow with SAP Customer Experience.
Hello and welcome everybody and thank you for joining us at SAP Customer Experience Live 2021. I'm here in sunny London and we have Claire who is with us in Jersey. We have Kunle who is in Oxfordshire and we have Jason in the wonderful city of Chicago. And thank you all for joining. Do tell us in the comments where you're joining us from. Let us know where you are around the world. We'd love to know. Just to give you a little bit of a background to what we're going to talk about, we're just going to share some of the highlights and the best bits from SAP Customer Experience Live 2021 over the next 20 minutes. I think we've learned how to transform at speed, how to engage with customers with insight, how to create sustainable growth. And we're going to talk about, again, just a refresher of some of the case studies of the brands that have certainly proven that they're delivering that. I think we saw a lot of content. Great live studio broadcast to the virtual Unplugged discussion rooms, which I was privileged to be in a couple of them, and the how-to product videos. And we had an amazing live band. What else could you have asked from a wonderful event this week? Just kicking off, I wanted to share one or two of my highlights from Customer Experience Live this week. I particularly enjoyed the case studies. I thought, listening to Levi's, listening to Kia, these are two amazing brands, aren't they? I think consumers have a very strong emotional connection to these brands, and I'm always in favor of brands thinking about how to turn customers into fans. And I think they're both great examples of brands that have done that. Levi's have stood the test of time over 150 years, and IKEA have been around for a long time and loved the world over. I thought with Levi's, it was their ability to elevate the customer experience, to set sights on that, and to essentially turn up wherever customers wanted them to be. They talked about that being their one-channel strategy. I really like that, and offering locally relevant experiences through a global platform, which is so important because consumers around the world obviously have different expectations and different requirements. And then with the Kia, they were talking about, they were all about sustainability. And what I really liked about what Pia was saying, who was their ex-sustainability officer, was that they're not kicking the can down the road. They're just taking action. They're starting. And that was our biggest piece of advice. Just start on this journey and get about it. And they clearly build a great level of trust with their customers, driven very much by, I think, what they're doing on sustainability. So I take my hat off to them, and I think that's why they have tens of millions of fans on social media. Anyway, let's turn over to our guests now and our fellow thought leaders from this week. Claire, what would be, tell us what your main insight would have been from the CX Live event this week.
Yeah, I have to pick up on that one, on the IKEA one as well. I was really I attended two parts of it, which, Pia was talking, because sustainability is such a buzzword, isn't it? But really, what is it? And how can businesses really make it part of their business model? And IKEA is just for such a huge, large organization, has just made it through every part of their touch point. They're looking at it from every part, developing everything with that in mind. And, with everything that's going on, we've got a big congress next week about it. We are all, as businesses, small and large, have to start thinking that way. And, looking at those big or large organizations who are doing it, how can we model some of those examples? How can we start doing things like you said? It is a journey. I think Vivek was one of the moderator, and he said, it's a journey. It's not a destination. Let's just start with it and let's just see where we go.
Exactly. Kunle, what about yourself? Any particular highlights from this week?
Absolutely. So I'll go back to the IKEA. A lot has been spoken about the IKEA, case study, but I think what really stood out for me over the IKEA one was the fact that customers trust IKEA more, the more sustainable they deliver. So with sustainability, that there's more customer trust. I was going through a paper a few days ago, and I think it was from Deloitte. And in the UK, apart from COVID-19, the second most important thing on shoppers' minds now is sustainability. So it's really top of mind, and it breeds, or it sort of delivers trust, which is important, and brands really should think about it, genuinely, and really move things towards that direction. The other takeaways was more bringing data together, from your back end to your front end, and allowing, front end data like demand side data to really, inform your ERP systems and the back end. I really thought that was very insightful. With there was an Emasis talk I went into, and now what SAP is doing is trying to bring some of the data insights from customers to let it speak to the supply chain and all the back office, operations.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think the key word you used there is insights, isn't it? It's all fine and well to have data, but it's what you do with it, and turning that data into actionable insight is definitely the way to go. Jason, what about yourself?
Yeah, well, certainly I play in the commerce space, and so I always love to hear from practitioners, and particularly practitioners that are selling stuff. So certainly IKEA and Levi and Moen, were great examples. I always learn from their experiences. So that was awesome. I have to sort of take my hand off to the SAP organizers, because I felt like there was a very well executed, consistent theme across all of these different tracks, which had very disparate points of view. But the theme was really about always focusing on the outcome and working backwards from the outcome. And it sounds trite, but there's so many shiny baubles in our space, and people do something just to do it, or their success criteria is that they did X, had a sustainability program, right? And so it's super interesting to say, hear IKEA say, no. Sustainability is about increasing customer trust, and that's how we measure it. And it's about improving operational efficiency, right? And, wildly different. I sat in on one of Kunai's talks, and he, they're grilling him about all these different technology stacks for e-commerce and saying which is better. And his answer was always, well, neither. It depends on what outcome you're seeking. And for some people seeking this outcome, this will be better. So I resonated quite a bit with that.
Totally agree. And I think even, if you talk about it at a customer level, which is what customer experience is all about, if we focus more on the end game and where we were trying to go, and customer lifetime value, and what it would take to really drive lifetime value, what it would take to drive loyalty and true engagement and emotional connection, and work back from that, I think we'd certainly move the needle, wouldn't we, from a sales point of view. Very, very interesting. And just to say to the audience, anyone listening today, please don't hesitate to tell us what your highlights were as well in the chat. Anything that you'd particularly like to call out. So I know that you've already mentioned, I think that you were in some of the discussion rooms. Just keen to kind of build on that. Jason, did you go into? Was there a specific discussion room that you took part in, or you were listening to, that you found
a few
really interesting, and what resonated?
Yeah, so I took part in a couple of ones, both in the Emasis version and the US version, talking about delighting customers via CX, and I think we had some great conversations in those. Sort of playing on something that Levi's talked about. They had a clever turn of phrase, the single channel strategy, but we sort of talked about digital disruption accelerated by COVID really sort of debundling or decoupling the shopping experience. And so as opposed to going to a channel and having a shopping experience, you now have a shopping experience across thousands of micro moments that are spread out across an ever increasing multitude of potential touch points. And that fundamentally changes what customers' expectations are and how we meet her expectations and how we earn trust by meeting and exceeding those expectations. So that was a fun conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Kunle, any additional highlights from discussions you were in?
So I was involved in the Boston the Myth on e-commerce technology, composable commerce, and we talked about deployment models. And there's a lot of hype in the industry, around SaaS, whether SaaS is good. But I really put together. Well, we came to a consensus that essentially it really depends on where you are. So if you're starting business and you're not really keen on controlling the application and data level, of your e-commerce stack, then SaaS might be good for you. But as you transition to multiple touch points and you really want agility in your application development and you have the resources, then a platform as a service, option will certainly just help you, essentially, scale better. We also talked about headless commerce, just debunking some myths there, advantages and disadvantages of headless commerce, and the consensus there was, resources. It requires a lot more resources, and you should, change your company culture first, and then, sort of take a crawl, walk methodology and run methodology to it, towards activating the most important channels that matter to your brand, especially with testing also new touch points. That's
sure
what I said in a nutshell.
Yeah, you talked about agility there, and obviously having agility and the ability to transform at pace has been hugely important, as obviously businesses have had to pivot quite significantly over the last year and a half, 2 years, from having a multi-channel business to having an online business, or a multi-channel business or an online business, and using their stores for fulfillment only, when they were closed, curbside pickup, that kind of idea. It's been quite amazing what businesses have had to do and how agile actually they have proven themselves capable of being. I think it's been, really impressive. What about you, Claire? What did you attend and what did you get involved in?
So the one I really kind of, there was quite a good conversation around, really. It was transforming B2B sales for future growth, and something that was really resonated. Jody Simmons said, CX is an inside job, and I really, really like that. Yes, we need to put that customer centricity. Let's put our customers in the middle of everything that we do. Let's put our internal and external customers in the middle of everything that we do. And once you really do that, you can really find all the elements which are going to be helping everybody, and those touch points throughout. It's really, really important. So I really like that kind of conversation. And like you said, it's flexibility, adaptability. We can't do that. What can we do? Solution focused instead of problem focused. Let's
absolutely.
When
well, that's it. And if you do start with the customer and you work back from there, then you can make much better decisions, can't you? Particularly around technology. And for me, technology is. I always start with kind of how do we empower people? How do we empower customers to have the experience that they want to have? And how do we empower our colleagues, our staff, to be able to deliver those experiences and to be able to do, their job to really the best of their ability. And I'm glad that you brought up B2B, because I think that what we learned this week, it really, which we probably all knew anyway, if we dug underneath the bonnet, is that, at the end of the day, all of this is completely applicable, whether you're in direct to consumer, whether you're a consumer goods business going D2C, whether you're a retailer or whether you're a business selling to other businesses. And it reminded me of many years ago. I did a sort of piece of website optimization for a client who was a big player in the UK, selling health and safety products for the workplace. So high visibility jackets, helmets, signs that say "Be careful," don't slip, that kind of idea. And I looked at their website and I realized immediately what they were doing is that they designed a website to be completely different because they thought they were selling to business buyers. And I said to them, you need to remember that all your customers spend more time on a retail website than they do on a business website. And so what you need to do is be able to deliver much more of a retail type experience, but with the relevant content, for your category. Well, it sounds like there's lots of fire engines or police wagons on the go in Chicago. Is it Chicago?
It's me, guilty. They're coming for me, probably.
Yeah, you're in America when you hear those sirens kicking off. I don't know if any of you heard. I was very honoured and privileged to do a session on Ready, Set, Go, accelerating growth online, and I think there were some great takeaways about short-term opportunities, quick wins, a lot around customer centricity, a lot around multi-channel, etc. But I talked a little bit about the Metaverse and this buzzword that's been doing the rounds for a while now, and I was trying to bring to life. I just keen to get your thoughts on that. I was trying to bring to life what I thought it was, and I just said that it may be that the Metaverse is us finally getting to Web 3.0, where instead of having this fairly flat online experience, all of a sudden it starts to feel like the offline world, where it's the emergence of social media and virtual reality and augmented reality and cryptocurrencies and everything else to create this online world. I don't know if any of you have any thoughts at all on that, the Metaverse. Maybe.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like the Metaverse is accidentally even a better metaphor than I sort of originally thought, because like if you I feel like the pop culture references from Marvel and that they even have a series where they show all these sort of alternative lives of the Marvel characters in the Metaverse, like where something was different in how that difference played out in all the subsequent events. And the decoupling of shopping experiences or customer experiences across all these touch points plays out in a very similar way, because you mentioned like, gosh, maybe the web can finally recreate that physical experience more accurately. Hopefully it can, but also the way it evolves on the web may in fact be very different because it's the web than it did in the physical version. So sometimes I see some of those best online experiences, and I think of them like the alternative lives of Captain America in the Avengers Metaverse.
It's a great analogy, actually. I really like that, and I think you're right. And I can imagine actually that the Metaverse could be a richer, more immersive experience than the one that we have in physical retail. And what physical retail has to do, and the physical world, is find a way of catching up and becoming more experiential, like we've obviously talked about it being.
On a side note, in Marvel, it all ends very badly. So hopefully,
Jason, we've had enough bad news for the last year and a half, right? I'm very much glass half full, and I think we've got a great future ahead of us. I certainly hope so. Well, the theme this week was all about transforming. It was all about growing. It was all about engaging, and I think we saw some really good examples. I think we've talked about them, and we've seen some really great case studies with Moen and IKEA and Levi's, of brands who have stood the test of time because they've understood that they've had to continually evolve and transform their business and not stand still and find new ways of engaging with customers and to maintain their relevance and ultimately keep growing. And they have stood the test of time. Levi's 150 years. It's amazing, and they're not going away anytime soon, that's for sure. Well, look, thank you so much for your time and your feedback. It's been really good fun in the after party now. Thank you very much to SAP for hosting everything this week. I hope everybody's enjoyed it as much as we have being involved. Customer Experience Live 2021. And who knows, we'll maybe see you at Customer Experience Live 2022.
Yeah.
And hopefully we won't be talking about COVID.
That's it.
That'll be a thing in the past. A distant memory. Thank you very much for everyone for joining. I think we've had guests with us from various places around the world, from California, from India, and a whole bunch of different markets. So I hope everybody's enjoyed that. And I think we're going to call it a day there. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you,
everybody.
Stay safe, everyone.
See you soon. Bye.
Well.